Hello, New York Giants fans, and welcome to the Big Blue View YouTube channel. Please like, share, and subscribe to support our work. All right, today we are going to talk about Giants' second round pick, Tyler Nubin, safety out of Minnesota, and here to give us some insight is Andy York of SB Nation's The Daily Gopher, which covers Minnesota. Andy, thank you very, very much for a few minutes.
Hey, no problem, Ed. Glad to be here.
So, 2 years in a row, the Giants take a Minnesota Golden Gopher out of in the second round.
Yeah, no, it definitely seems like the current Giant administration has liking for what PJ Fleck and the Gophers are doing in getting players prepared for the NFL. Between Jen Michael Schmidts and this year Tyler Nubin and also bringing in, I saw Chris Utman Bell is going to rookie mini camp. So there's a lot of maroon and gold flavor along with Carter Coughlin. Can't forget Carter Coughlin too. So a lot of maroon and gold flavor on the Big Blue roster at the moment.
There you go. So let's talk about Tyler Nubin. And the one thing that really caught my attention that Giants GM Joe Shane said about Nubin was that he was a culture changer at Minnesota. Um, Can you tell us a little bit about what you think he might have meant in terms of Nubin being a culture changer?
Yeah, I mean, I think Minnesota has really had a strong tradition the last few years of putting pro quality defensive backs into the NFL. When you look at Antoine Winfield Jr. and just in the last couple of years, you've got Terrell Smith with the Bears, Jordan Howden with the Saints, but Nubin really came in, as a freshman and blew up that secondary. He played 1 year behind Winfield and then took over and played the last 3 years starting at safety himself. But he's a PJ Fleck prototype on the field. He's always learning. He's always teaching. He's always. I got a chance to attend a couple of spring practices this spring while Nubin was still in town, and he was out there coaching up the young secondary guys while he's working out to get ready for the draft. So he's one of those guys that he's going to give you his all on the field, off the field, and really, come from that PJ Flex school of serving, giving, learning, and bringing a whole holistic effort to his effort on the field.
One of the things that people looked at was he didn't test incredibly well at the combine. When you look at him, is he not that great of an athlete, or was part of that due to the meniscus injury and due to maybe he shouldn't have been working out in the first place as he recovered from the injury? And what does the fact that he went out there, what does it say about the kid?
Yeah, I mean, he's a gamer. He'll give you his all no matter what. He probably did push through that injury a little bit more than he probably should have. But Nubin's never been one of those like really explosive guys. His top line speed has never. That's not where he's going to excel. It's his football instincts. It's his positioning on the field. I mean, he's one of those guys that just understands football. So he might not have the 4.3 speed to try and cover a burner, but he'll cut that angle off in the secondary and make sure he knows where that ball is going to end up. And so he'll beat the receiver to the ball just because he's, better at figuring out the angles and figuring out positioning and reading the quarterback and things like that. He's going to be a physical player for you, but he's not going to be your track star. So he'll have to be put in roles where he can use his strengths to succeed. But he definitely has the head for the game. He's a very smart player. He's a very instinctive player, and he uses that to his advantage all over.
And to me, that sounds like a player who's probably better off in a zone heavy scheme, not a man heavy scheme, which is what the Giants ran previous to this the last couple of years with Wink Martindale. But with new defensive coordinator Shane Bowen, I think they're going to be more zone heavy. So it sounds like Nubin fits that style. Am I right?
Definitely. That's what the Gophers did a lot is they ran that zone, and I agree. He definitely fits more in a zone cover scheme than he does in a man covered scheme. But like I said, you give him the ability to be that ball hawk. He ended up setting the Gopher all-time record with 13 interception in his career. He is your prototypical ball hawking deep safety, and if you can put him in roles like that to succeed, I see no reason why he shouldn't be able to produce like that for the Giants as well.
You think he's a day one starter? I was interested, and I'll just before you answer that question, Joe Shane was asked about the defense that they're putting together in New York, and he said one of the things he's happy about is that they now have a lot of fairly young players, still on rookie contracts with a couple of years left, or they have a couple of some veteran players that are under contract for a while. So they have a core of players who should be together for a few years. And I thought it was interesting that right away he put Tyler Nubin in that core. So I guess my question to you is, looking at that kind of a statement, do you think he can be one of those core guys? And do you think he can be a day one starter?
I think he definitely can. I mean, especially since you have a hole in your lineup right there with McKinney, I believe, going to the Packers in the offseason free agency. I mean, that hole was there. I think Nubin was drafted to fill that hole, and he's expected to come in and be the day one starter. Now, obviously, he's going to have to earn it. He can't just come in and expect it. But I mean, looking at players who we learned from between Antoine Winfield Jr. and players like that who he followed at Minnesota. He saw what their abilities translated to the NFL. And I think he's got a couple of great role models in that. He comes from a great family. His mother is amazing. If anybody ever gets a chance to meet her, she was all around the Gopher program, and she's just your prototypical, supportive leader, smart. You can see where he gets his brains from. I think he knows that he's going to have to come in and work his butt off, but he also knows that the opportunity is there for the taking. If he does what he needs to do in OTAs and in training camp, there's no reason why he shouldn't be starting game one for the Giants in the secondary.
You mentioned Antoine Winfield Jr., and I think he was also a second round pick a few years ago. Has probably outplayed that draft stock, that draft spot. Can Nubin be what Antoine Winfield has been? Or is there a little difference just in athleticism or in that stuff?
Yeah, I think Winfield has a bit more athleticism. I mean, but they do have the same ball hawking instincts. They do have the same football IQ. So while Nubin might be limited a little bit just by the explosivity that Winfield has and has shown translates really well. There's no reason why. I mean, Nubin might not be your necessarily, all pro in 4 years. He might not be your first team NFL all pro, but there's no reason why he can't be a very solid starting safety in the NFL. And as long as he stays healthy, which was one of the knocks against him at Minnesota, he did have a few injury issues. As long as he stays healthy, there's no reason why he can't have a long, productive NFL career.
And obviously, as we said, the limitation might be, absolutely pure athleticism. Did you think second round was the right spot for him?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I think early in the process there was talking about, maybe he might sneak into the end of the first. But as we've seen, the safety position, at least in the NFL draft, has been sort of undervalued as of late. Nubin was the first safety off the board at 47 to the Giants. So I think that is a fair spot. I think if you looked at it honestly the last month or so, he was looking at that, mid 40s to early 50s draft spot. I think the Giants, knowing that they have liked Minnesota players before and knowing they had a hole at safety, was a pretty obvious spot that they might look to land him. So I'm not surprised at all that the Giants took him at that 47 overall spot. And like I said, he's got a good Minnesota centric support system there between John Michael Schmidts, between Carter Coughlin. So I think he should fit in pretty well there and should, have enough people to get him on his feet and get him well started into hopefully will be a great NFL career.
Andy, let's talk a little bit about John Michael Schmidts since you just mentioned him. second round pick out of Minnesota, starting center for the Giants in his rookie season. I don't know how much you paid attention to the Giants, but I'm curious if you paid enough attention to have some thoughts on John Michael Schmidt's rookie season in New York.
Yeah, I mean, I paid attention at least a little bit overall, and following the Gophers in the NFL, and it looks like obviously he dealt with a few injuries as well. But I think overall, as a rookie safety coming in and playing virtually every snap when he was healthy, he had a decent opening year for the Giants. I mean, obviously Daniel Jones didn't have the best year last year, and I think a lot of that could be contributed to his offensive line not nearly protecting him as well as they probably needed to be. But at least from an outsider looking on, I felt like Schmidts had a fairly decent year and has a good foundation to build on as it goes into year 2 and year 3 in New York.
And what do you think in terms of John Michael Schmidts? What do you think of as a ceiling for John Michael Schmidts, maybe by the end of his rookie contract, 3-4 years in?
Yeah, I mean, he's another one of those guys that, at least at Minnesota, just got better and better. I mean, he stepped into the starting center role his sophomore year and just became one of the best centers, if not the best center in the country by his senior year. So he's another one of those guys that seems to be the PJ Fleck mentality, always learning, always trying to get better, always trying to improve his skills. So he's another guy that's going to be a workhorse to get as far ahead as he can and do whatever he needs to do to be that top quality NFL center. I can't say I'm a full expert when it comes to NFL offensive line play, but I mean, I see no reason why he can't continue to at least meld himself into a top half of the league center over the next couple of years, and potentially top 3 or 4 center in the NFL by the time his rookie contract is over, if he keeps working at it.
As a complete aside, he certainly did show some interesting dance moves at his wedding.
He's his personality. I mean, he's just one of those fun guys to be around, and yeah, I mean, he the story famously is he got hurt. I believe it was the bowl game they played down in Arizona. I can't remember, whatever, they switched the name so very often, but he got plowed over in that game because it was the game that they left Gophers now Baltimore Ravens tackle Daniel Faalele, a 6'8", 350-pound beast of a man, run the ball in for a touchdown, and he literally basically plowed right down JMS's back and ended up tweaking his knee and getting hurt. That was the game he then ended up proposing to his now wife after the game, and had to do it while wearing a boot on his foot because he got absolutely run over by a beast of a man who, like I said, now is one of the tackles for the Baltimore Ravens. So, he's got that great personality. He's got that personable side. He's got that All-American look. I don't know how much he's been, talked to. Like I said, centers aren't usually aren't the media darlings often, but if you ever give him enough attention in the New York market, I'm sure he can be one of those most personal guys that will go out and make sure that he's well liked.
Yeah, that's interesting because he certainly didn't go out of his way to show us that personality in the locker room last year. I think, he was just sort of fitting in and staying quiet, but he certainly didn't show us that big personality. But maybe that'll come out as time goes.
And I mean, I think as a rookie in the NFL, I mean, like I said, offensive line, at least stereotypical, you're taught to get in the trenches, do your job, and not make a name for yourself. You're not a wide receiver who's going out there and running his mouth all the time. You're not a quarterback who has to be the spokesman for the team, no matter whether you want to be or not. Offensive linemen traditionally are, okay, we're going to get in there, we're going to do our job, and we're going to get back and do it again. So I think, there's definitely room for that to come out as he gets a little bit more set in the ways of the Giants lineup and things like that. I mean, also, frankly, I don't think the Giants as a team really had an amazing year last year. And so, I think if the team was having a little bit more success, you might have a little bit more fun like that. But, I think obviously that's their goal this year with some of the lineup changes they've made in the draft. And obviously the getting Daniel Jones back to where he was in 2022 is going to be key for that as well.
Absolutely. Hey, Andy, before I let you go, I want to ask you: the Giants are bringing in another Minnesota player as an undrafted free agent, bringing in wide receiver Chris Utman Bell. Um, I don't know how many wide receiver spots are open on the Giants. I don't know if maybe his path might be as a trying to earn a practice squad spot. I don't know. I don't know Utman Bell. I haven't really studied him at all to this point. So just tell us what what the Giants are getting and what might give him a chance to stick around.
Yeah, I mean, in Utman Bell case, he's another one of those football lifers. He loves the game. He's cerebral and is great. The drawback to what happened to him is he had a horrific knee injury early in the 2023 season that I think has really limited his athleticism. So I mean, while I would love to see him try and earn a practice squad shot and get a realistic shot, he's definitely way behind the eight ball just because he's not the same player he was before the injury. So he's going to have to earn a role as a productive possession receiver who catches everything that comes his way, can take the hard hits going over the middle, things like that. He used to be that over the top acrobatic catch guy, but he's not that anymore, unfortunately, after the knee injury. I mean, hopefully maybe after another few months of rehab, he might be there too. But while it's a great story and I'm glad to see him get a shot, I'll be honestly surprised if he works his way into a roster spot, just because he was a complete non-factor for the Gophers in 2024, trying to come back from that injury, and he just didn't have it.
When did he suffer? When did he suffer the injury?
I think it would have been September, October 23. It was
it was last season.
Or no, sorry, it would have been 22. My fault, because he came back last fall. He suffered the injury in 22. He came back and played the last 7 or 8 games, the Gopher season last year in 23, but you could tell he never was back to 100%. He was not the same player he was. So I think, he wanted to get out there because it was his last year of college football and play some, but he was Minnesota's number 1, number 2 receiver his junior and regular season year before he got hurt into 22. And then last year he got hurt or he came back from his injury and just wasn't the same player. So, willpower is there. The catching talent is there. The athleticism just wasn't. So, whether he's going to be able to hang on and have any chance at making an NFL roster, I think is a long shot, but he's going to give it all his all. He's going to come out there and work as hard as he can to try and get it. But he definitely will be a long shot to sneak on, I do believe.
All right, Andy. Hey, I appreciate the time and the insight into the Minnesota players who are members of the Giants roster, and I know we skipped Carter Coughlin, but Carter's been around for a while.
Carter's been a while. He plays his role for the Giants that he needs to do. He's a special teams maven. We all had hoped that he might be able to earn a bit more time in the linebacker room, but obviously he's found his role with the Giants, doing what he needs to do, and it's just nice to see. Like I said, the Giants front office obviously believes in what the Gophers are doing and getting players ready for the NFL. They keep drafting them, they keep bringing them in, and so hopefully they can all continue to live up to the aspirations that the Giants have for them.
All right, Andy, thank you very, very much. Giants fans, thank you as always for listening. Please stay safe out there, take care of each other, and we'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye.